Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from New York Community Bank, AmTrust Title Insurance Company, Perfect Building Maintenance, M&T Bank, Customers Bank, Marks Paneth LLP, Capital One Bank, Collins Building Services, Meridian Capital Group. Additional support has been provided by grants from AKA Hotel Residences Corman Communities, Ariel Property Advisors, Amerant Bank, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Briarwood Organization, Chase Commercial Mortgage Lending, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Citizens Bank, Dime Community Bank, Douglaston Development Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handro Properties LLC, Handler Real Estate Organization, Hodges Ward Elliott INC, Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, John Casamatides Red Apple Group, Keysight Capital Partners, Matone Group, New Banks, Newmark Knight Frank, Ocean First Bank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rockefeller Group, Rosewood Realty Services, Stonehenge NYC, SVN CPEX Real Estate Services, Tierra CRG, the Meringer Family Foundation, and these friends. I like real estate. I want to be involved with real estate. My father has been involved with real estate, so I'm going to be a real estate owner, developer, and a property individual involved with real estate. I'm going to be honored by the ABO. Today I have the individual who owns numerous properties in New York City, who's been very involved in the development of affordable and community housing, Robert Nelson, Nelson Management Group. So tell me about the family. Tell me about your father's side, how they came over to America, and then your mother's side.
So I guess I'll start out with my dad's father, who was born in Russia and emigrated to the United States when he was 14 years old. I was told the story of how when he was he was actually escaping from Russia. He was shot in the leg as he was getting onto a boat coming to the United States.
Did he come alone?
I don't know the answer to that question. I can tell you that there are a lot of Nelsons that actually, and actually it's important to point out that the name Nelson actually comes from Katznelson. In Russia, the name was Katznelson, and then when they got to Ellis Island, they
had to cut it short.
They had to cut it short, and they called it Nelson. So a lot of my grandfather's cousins ended up coming to the United States, and one of the more renowned Nelsons out there was the one who built the Nelson Tower on 34th Street and 7th Avenue.
7th Avenue.
Yes.
The Nelson Tower.
And he married my grandmother, who was from New Jersey. And on my mother's side, both my grandmother and my grandfather were both from Poland.
What did your grandfather do for a living?
So my dad's father was a dressmaker in the garment district here in Manhattan, and worked in a factory on 38th Street between 7th and 8th. And like I said, they made dresses.
And on your mother's side?
And on my mother's side, my grandfather worked at Brinn Shirts and Ties, BRINN Shirts and Ties, which was a store that was on Vanderbilt and 43rd Street. I remember going there as a little kid, and my grandfather was a salesman there.
Okay, so now let's fast forward to your dad. Tell me about your dad. I know he grew up in Brooklyn.
Sure. So my dad actually grew up around the corner from where I grew up. My dad grew up on 1772 East 13th Street. I ended up growing up at 1773 East 12th Street.
Is that the picture that we have of your mom and dad?
Yes.
The entrance over there?
Yes, at 1773 East 12th Street. That building is still there. It's the Homecrest section of Brooklyn. My dad ended up going to all 3 grade schools that I went to. My father's sister went there, my sister went there, and that includes PS 153, Cunningham Junior High School, and James Madison High School. Some of the interesting aspects of James Madison High School, Chuck Schumer went there, Ruth Bader Ginsburg went there, so you know we all grew up within.
I think you even mentioned to me that I believe you and your dad were both bar mitzvahs at the same.
Yes, we were.
Synagogue?
There was a synagogue on that is still there, on Avenue R in East 16th Street, Temple Avath Shalom. I don't believe it is called the same synagogue anymore, but yeah.
So tell me, so your dad graduated from James Madison High School, and then what happens?
So my dad ends up going to New York University. Is on one of the is on an advanced program that enables him to go to NYU for 2 years. It was either 2 years or 3 years, and then transitions right into law school, and then went to Brooklyn Law School.
Went to Brooklyn Law School, but subsequently after that, he went to the Army?
Correct. What I also want to mention is, which was a big part of my life, my dad played basketball for New York University. I still have the jersey at home. It's a very uncomfortable jersey to wear. The material is not too comfortable against your skin. But yes, my dad went to NYU, went to Brooklyn Law School, and then immediately after graduating from law school, was then drafted into the Army. It was the Korean War at the time, and went to Fort Dix out in New Jersey.
Now, you said he fortunately went to Fort Dix and had an accident which held him back from going to Korea, correct?
Yes. So the story is that he developed a fever the night before that his entire troop was being shipped out to Korea. So they held him back. All of his troop mates ended up being shipped over to Korea. My dad ended up staying back, was subsequently sent to Germany, but the fact that 90% of his troop never returned home. But you know, in terms of his life, just very grateful that he developed a fever.
We're going to continue on Dad for a second, but
Sure.
Tell me about Mom growing up.
My mom grew up in the Bensonhurst section of Brooklyn. I believe they lived in a 2-family house on, I believe it was 78th Street and Bay Parkway. She ended up going to New Utrecht High School.
And your father used to play at the JCC.
And so did I.
In Bensonhurst.
Correct. The JCH, to those of a lot of people watching who may not know what it is, it stands for the Jewish Community House in Bensonhurst. And they had a very storied basketball program. The program was, it was a traveling basketball team, and the quality of the players was really on a very high level. The teams used to travel to Pennsylvania. They would travel to Washington, D.C., they would travel to Israel, and they would play other JCCs. So my father ended up playing for the JCH, and then subsequently when I became of age, I ended up playing basketball for the JCH.
So let's continue. The story is your father met your mother at the record player?
My father and mother were at a party, and my mother liked dance music, so she was up at the record player putting on one of her favorite dance tunes. My father was smitten as soon as he saw her, walked up to the record player and started up conversation, and the rest is history.
So when do your parents get married?
If I was married in 1960 and my sister is 4.5 years older. We're probably talking 1956 or 50, somewhere, 1956. So I'm going to say 1955.
Okay. So your father has finished the Korean War, okay? He's back over here. He has a law degree. Does he practice law?
No. Yes and no. Yes and no. He graduates law school, goes into a very, very, very brief private practice, and then gets a job at the Corporation Council, the New York City's Corporation Council. For those of us that are not familiar with that, those are the city's attorneys, the City of New York's attorneys that are on staff. And at the Corporation Council, he works there for a couple of years and prosecuting cases. And what happens at the Corporation Council is he's sitting with a group of guys who he ends up becoming lifelong friends with. One is a fellow named Joseph Goldman, who was a former commissioner of the New York State Division of Housing and Community Renewal. Another one is Judah Gribbetts. I'm not sure if you know who Judah is. Judah's a former deputy mayor under Beam, was chief counsel to Hugh Carey. And they worked in a division, and their boss was the Honorable Milton Mullen, who my dad ends up becoming my dad's closest friend.
So he's at the Corporation Council, and how does he transition into the real estate world?
Milt Mullen ends up leaving and going to work for the New York City Housing and Redevelopment Board, HRB, which its successor agency is now HPD. And there he appoints my dad to be the assistant director or the assistant commissioner of the Mitchell-Lama housing development, I should say, the portfolio of Mitchell-Lama developments that is under the city's auspices.
So for my viewers, explain what the Mitchell-Lama program was.
The Mitchell-Lama program was a program that was started by two legislators from New York State. One's last name was Mitchell, the other one's last name was Lama. And they developed a program for middle-income wage earners in New York City, whose incomes, obviously it varied over time. But like I said, that we obviously are very familiar with low-income housing programs and other types of programs, but this was a middle-income housing program. And the Mitchell-Lama, the number of units that have been built in New York State under the Mitchell-Lama housing program, I think approaches around 200,000 units.
Right,
and I might add, it is one of the most successful housing programs ever in this country.
I mean, a large portion of the Bronx, Co-op City, okay?
Correct.
And Roosevelt Island was built by Mitchell-Lama housing.
Yes, that's correct. You have a lot of Mitchell-Lama. There are Mitchell-Lama rentals. There are Mitchell-Lama co-ops.
Affordable co-ops, right?
And you have them all over. You have them all over the city, and you have them all over the state.
So he's supervising the Mitchell-Lama homes.
Correct.
Housing program.
Correct.
And then subsequently, when does he get involved with the educational
construction fund? He's then hired as the first executive director of a new program called the New York City Educational Construction Fund. And what they are organized to do is to take city-owned land and build schools and lease the air rights to developers. So what happens is that the city ends up getting a free school.
Right.
How, you might ask? I'm sure that was your next question. How, you might ask? The way that the program works, and it's still in existence today. There was just one that was built on East 57th Street and 2nd Avenue by the Worldwide Group. The program is one where the city takes their land, they do an RFP through ECF, they select a developer, the developer, they then go and sell bonds which funds the construction of the school, and the air rights rental payments pay the debt service on the bonds for the school. So like I said, the city ends up getting a free
Right,
school.
and your father's involved in some major developments, 3 Park Avenue with the Coen brothers.
Correct.
Okay, 175 Pearl Street.
Right, you have Confucius Plaza.
Confucius Plaza, another one in Chinatown, and then a number of other properties. Where is
3333 Broadway, which was an 1,100 unit development. You have Cooper Gramercy at the corner of 23rd Street and 2nd Avenue. You have, like you mentioned, 3 Park Avenue, and there are countless others.
So he's involved with that, and then subsequently decides to go out on his own later on, right?
Correct. Well, actually, in between that, he gets hired by Stanley Stahl.
Right.
The real estate magnate
Right.
Stanley Stahl. He gets hired by Stanley, who was actually building a Mitchell-Lama development on East 88th Street and Park Avenue.
Right. Stanley also, which owned Apple Savings Bank, okay?
Correct.
And also was the owner of Caldwell Wingate, where your father becomes the president of the construction company Caldwell Wingate.
Correct. So my dad goes and works for Caldwell Wingate, and is the president of their of Caldwell Wingate, the construction company. Works there for a number of years, and that's probably right around the time that I started to become interested in this business.
So let's talk a little bit about you. You're born, as you said before, you were born in 1960.
Correct.
Okay, in Brooklyn, New York.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We have the picture on Homecrest, in the Homecrest Gardens neighborhood over there. So tell me about growing up in Brooklyn as a kid.
I have to tell you, if I had to do it all over again, I would do it the same way. It was a very middle-class neighborhood. When my dad was younger, I remember he would take the subway. We lived on East 12th between Kings Highway and Avenue R. He would walk over to East 16th Street, jump on the D train. At the time, the D train would go by there, take the train into Manhattan. You know, all of my friends lived on the same block. We ended up all going to the same grade schools together. We would walk together each day to school. We played roller hockey together. We played stickball in the backyard. It was a predominantly Jewish and Italian neighborhood. And like I said, it was very, very middle class. And it was just a wonderful place to grow up.
I think you said to me that once in a while at the kitchen table, you would discuss real estate.
So let me back up a little bit, because when my dad worked for ECF, his office was at 250 Broadway. So every now and then when I was off from school, he would take me to the office with him. I remember being probably no more than 10 years old, and he would stick me in an office and he would give me a pad and a couple of pens, and there'd be a phone there, and I'd press the buttons. And so kind of fast forward a little bit further, my dad, when he was working for Caldwell Wingate, come home from work, and for some reason, I don't even know how it happened, but I just became interested in what he was doing, and I became interested in all of the various projects that he'd be working on. And funny thing, you know, I think when I was 13 years old, I understood the concept of air rights, what air rights meant.
That was his mantra. That was the main business.
Precisely. So it was, I don't even think I realized it at the time, because, you know, then, you know, you fast forward to going to college. It's not like I went to college thinking to myself, I'm going to be in the real estate
Right, you
business.
went to Boston University. You weren't sure what you were going to be at that time.
Correct. I ended up, I was a finance major in the business school. Like I said, I really had no idea what I was going to be doing, but little did I realize that through osmosis, you know, it got into my fingernails.
So tell me how you got your first job at Williams Company.
So I interviewed with a fellow by the name of Bob Carmel, who's one of the owners of Williams Real Estate Company. And then the president of Williams Real Estate Company was a fellow by the name of Jerry Cohn. I interviewed with Jerry, And I was asked a few questions. I was asked the question, if you were online for a movie in New York City and you knew that there were only a few tickets left, what would you do to try and get yourself into the theater? And my answer was, well, I'd probably walk up as I was walking with other people down the street who were just walking down the street and just kind of assimilate into the front of the line and get myself a ticket. And I think Jerry Cohen liked that answer. I think he also asked me the question, how much is 25 times 25? I think I struggled for a second, and then I gave him the answer.
So that was your entree into office leasing.
Correct.
Okay, and you were in the office leasing business for about 8 years?
4 years.
4 years.
Right.
And then you could have gone into business with your father, and you had a situation where you met with Richie Calico. What happened?
So Richard Calico, who's one of my mentors, my dad and Richard were partners along with Scott Mullen and Bob Seavey, if you know those names. They were partners on a couple of apartment buildings that they were going to build together. So we would have meetings from time to time, and I think Richard took a liking to me. I remember him saying to me, you remind me of myself when I was your age. And then I remember taking a cab with him one day and telling him that I never really wanted to work for my father because I didn't want to work, quite frankly, for quote-unquote daddy. But he said to me, I understand that, he said, but it's also an opportunity. And I think with that advice...
So when did you join working for Dad?
Started working for my dad in 1988 at Nelson Equities. He had an office on 49th Street between...
And how many years did you stay there?
I was there for about 8.5 years.
So what happens 8.5 years? You decide that you want to change? You want to go out on your own?
So it's interesting because my father owned 3,000 units of multifamily housing, mostly Mitchell-Lama housing. But he has third-party management. I was in charge of asset management and overseeing the property managers, and I saw that, you know what, no one really cares about creating value in these buildings if you're just a third-party manager. You're paying the salaries, you're collecting the rent, and you're paying the invoices each month. You're not really concerned as how the property is going to get better. And my father also owned a hotel in Gainesville, Florida. And he didn't go down. He had someone else managing the hotel. Didn't go down there very often. So it suddenly became clear to me that I wanted to own apartment buildings, and I was looking for a way to go out on my own. And I said to myself, okay, if I'm going to own apartment buildings, then I want to be the one to watch the store. So how am I going to watch the store? So along came a couple of friends who I knew, one from sleepaway camp and the other from Boston University. They came along and they said, let's start a property management company together. I said to myself, here's the opportunity. We opened up in 1994, and away we went.
Okay, today how many properties do you own?
We own 3,500 units.
And all of them are in New York City?
Only in New York City.
Right, with the exception of the borough of Staten Island.
That's correct. That's correct. And I think one of the things one of the things that's always been quite important to me is being able to jump into the car and be at any one of those properties in 20 minutes.
Right, and your largest property is Lafayette Boynton?
The largest is Lafayette Boynton, that's correct.
Where you just recently put a new additional building over there.
We just built on some of the parking lot land. We just built 435 units with our partners at L&M Development.
Okay, and then you have South Street and a couple of other...
We have 275 South Street. We have Hazel Towers in the Pelham Bay section of the Bronx. We have Atlantic Plaza Towers, 718 units on Atlantic Avenue where it meets Eastern Parkway. But that wasn't the first... The
first one was on Clinton Street.
The first building was in 1995, 47 Clifton Place. a 17-unit apartment building that I still own today.
Okay. With less than a minute, tell me about your wife, how you met her, and your 2 children.
A fellow by the name of Andrew Murstein, who knew my wife and was doing business with my dad, introduced us on a blind date. My wife and I got married in 1994. We have 2 beautiful boys.
Tell me about both of them. The one who works for CAA.
I have a 23-year-old son, Max, who works for CAA and is hoping to have a career in film.
And the younger one?
And the younger one is at Washington University in St. Louis. My wife likes me to say "Wash U."
Which is what everybody likes.
Which is what everybody likes. He's 18 years old and he's a freshman.
So the interesting thing is, it's fortuitous that Dad got sick, that he didn't have to go to the Korean War over there. It's fortuitous that you have followed in the footsteps of your late dad, who had a great reputation, and so do you. And thanks for being with me today.
Thank you.